we're live.
Thank you. Just waiting to hit the 6 o'clock. Good evening and welcome to the January 17th council meeting. I'd like to note that we have committee of adjustment scheduled this evening. That will start at 7 p.m. It is due to COVID-19 and recommendations by Waterloo Region District Health to exercise social distance and public gathering thresholds. The township council meetings are currently being held electronically. Members of the public have been provided with the following methods to watch or participate in this open meeting electronically. First off, you can watch the live stream by accessing the meeting on the township's YouTube page. Secondly, members of the public interested in speaking to any items listed under item 7, Committee of Adjustments, item 10, Committee of the Whole reports, or 12 items for discussion, were requested to submit the requests in writing to the clerk's division. A link and a telephone number has been provided to those who registered before the registration deadline. And thirdly, members of the public interested in connecting on a particular item, they were invited to submit written comments to the clerk's division that were provided to the mayor and council prior to the meeting and will form part of the public record. I'd now like to call this meeting to order. And can I have approval of the agenda, please?
So moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor McCreary that council adopt the January 17th, 2022 council agenda as presented with the following addendum. 1, add closed session item 18.1, report number CAO-02-2022, the security of the property of the municipality or local board, Municipal Act Section 239, subsection 2, subsection A, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, Municipal Act Section 239, subsection 2, subsection B. Councillor Rollman?
Yes.
Councillor Rossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes,
That carries.
thank you. I'd now like to read the Indigenous Territory Acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements and their contributions to our community. We offer this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples of Canada. Taking a moment to reflect, I'd like to pause and share something that Chief Ava Hill of the Six Nations said to me at one time. When we had, and through the Air News and the great work they did, the recognition of Buddy Miracle. And Ava Hill, on receiving the jersey at center ice at the NDCC, had stated that this was what recognition was. It was recognition that they made a contribution, that they are part of this nation, this country, and that they wanted dignity and respect. And it was interesting because I always wondered how a reconciliation looked like. And I saw it that day, and when I shared it with those people, and I was grateful. So let us pause for a minute to understand that all of us need respect, understanding, and to work together to make it a better and stronger Canada. Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none. Public meetings next. So we are going to go into the public meeting committee of adjustment. So is there a motion for this? Is that correct, Ashley? Am I right that we're going into committee of adjustment now?
Committee of Adjustment is for 7 p.m.
Okay, because it's in page here. This should go aside then. So we are at delegations petition, Sandra Silva with Hitch Coffee. Is that correct, Ashley?
That is correct.
Thank you. So she's rescuing an exemption to the mobile food vendor bylaw. So is she speaking, Ashley? Go ahead, Sandra. You're on mute, Sandra. You're on mute. Sandra, you're on mute. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Sorry. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for your time this evening. I know there is a draft going in this year for the food truck bylaw, but in the meantime, I would like to have an amendment for myself personally as Hitched Coffee to operate daily at 1302 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. In addition to that, I would also like to have no more than 3 food trucks. I've changed the days to Wednesdays and Fridays. So operate along Wednesdays and Fridays.
All right. Anything else, Sandra?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions or comments? Council McCreary.
I understand the staff are working on a report for us and that there will be a draft bylaw coming out.
Okay.
And that may include some sort of a license fee. When might we expect that to be finalized or brought to board's council?
CEO McNeely.
Madam Mayor, there's both a staff report as well as a draft bylaw to deal with the regulation and licensing of mobile food vendors. It will be presented to Council Committee of the Whole at their February 7th meeting.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, can I have the motion, please?
So moved by Councillor Osner and seconded by Councillor Rollman that the delegation received from Sandra Silva with Hitch Coffee requesting an exemption to the mobile food vendor bylaw be received, and that a decision be deferred until February 2022 as the staff report and draft bylaw on mobile food vendors will be considered at that time. Councillor Rollman?
Sorry, could you read the last section of the motion again? Did you say we're voting to defer this report?
Yeah, that a decision be deferred until February of 2022 as a staff report and draft bylaw on mobile food vendors will be considered at that time.
Okay, I vote yes.
Councillor Osner?
So just for clarity, does that mean that Sandra cannot operate until we make this decision, or she can operate up until that point?
I believe her current exemption goes until it was January 1st of this year. So this does not extend her current exemption.
So if we vote yes, we're saying she cannot operate until we get this bylaw in place?
But she did not ask for an extension. She asked for a change. Had she asked for an extension, that's different.
I'm sorry, I understood that she was asking for an exemption to the bylaw until we come up with a bylaw that is suitable for
Yes,
this. Like
she's asking for a change.
Sorry?
She is asking for a change. She's not asking for an extension.
Or yeah, an amendment until the end of the year or until there is a bylaw in place.
So she's asking for an amendment.
She ends as of, what was the date, Ashley? When does her, what she's asked for end? January 1st, did you say?
It was January 1st of 2022.
Right.
So
Instead of asking for an extension,
mhm.
until the bylaw, she has asked for changes. So she's asked for more than what presently exists. She could have asked for an extension till February 22nd. She did not. She asked for changes.
Yeah, I
if
wasn't
we-
100%. I wasn't 100% sure on the dates for the food truck bylaw, meant like changes that the township is going to present soon. So in this delegation form, I've asked for an amendment from today forward until you guys have a new bylaw in place.
But Sandra, you have to understand that you can't amend something that doesn't exist. Your thing ended January 1st.
Yeah, and this is why I'm presently here to ask for
Right, so at that
an
time, you would have to
extension
ask for an extension of what we
or an
already have.
amendment to the
You
current
can't
bylaw.
amend something that doesn't exist. As of January 1st, it no longer existed.
Also, the previous bylaw expired January 1st.
That's correct.
I wish I would have known. Sorry, my apologies.
Can we defer this until we get this clarified? Because according to what I understand is we are not allowing her to operate her food truck, her coffee truck and the food trucks on Wednesday and Friday. We're saying the motion is to say no to that.
See, Councillor Austin, if I can try and clarify, if you get a license for a year, it's your responsibility at the end of the year to renew that license. She did not. She did not come to us at the end of December at our last meeting and say, I'd like to extend it to when you change the date. So it ended. The license ended, period. Okay, same as a hunting license. It has a date that it ends on. She did not go to extend it. Now she's come up and said, I want to do this instead. But there's nothing to amend because it doesn't exist anymore.
But that being said, every time Sandra has come, she's asked for an extension or an amendment to allow her to operate. From what I read and everything, I understood this was just another extension until we get this bylaw in place.
But it's actually an amendment if you read it. CEO McNeely.
Madam Mayor, maybe I could assist council and Ms. Silva. If I'm incorrectly referencing this, could you correct me?
Okay.
I think what Ms. Silva is saying, now that she understands that the township's work that was undertaken through the fall of 2021 and the presentation of the staff report and draft bylaw in February of 2022, she's seeking an exemption from the current mobile food vendor until such time as the township's in a position to adopt a new or revised mobile food vendor.
And that's what I understood, but that's not the
be an
motion.
extension. It would be an exemption in the present period until such time as the new bylaw, in whatever form it may finally take, is put into place.
So if I get you understanding correctly, CEO McNeely, what you're saying is that she is actually applying for a new way of operating her mobile trucks. It's not an extension of the previous one because that is over. Is that correct?
So Ms. Silva initially, when she prepared her delegation request, was actually looking for an exemption for this calendar year. Now, having understood that the township is going through the process of reviewing the mobile food vendor bylaw and that it'll be presented in February of 2022, she's seeking an exemption from the current bylaw in the present period until such time as the new bylaw is in place.
Now I understand. She's not seeking an amendment to the bylaw because the bylaw she had before is done. It's an exemption to our township bylaw.
I should have worded
Trucks.
differently. Yes.
Yeah, it's just the
Right,
word,
my
but that's fine. That's fine. We'll get clarification.
Okay.
So what you're asking for specifically right now, Sandra, is?
An exemption to the current bylaw until the township puts in place a new bylaw.
And you're asking for what?
Until,
No. What are you asking for? What days and such?
okay, so daily for myself as Hitched Coffee from 7 a.m. to 7:30. And then no more than 3 food trucks on Wednesdays and Fridays from 11 to 7:30.
Okay.
Until February 2022, when the next thing is going into place for the food draft bylaw that the township is currently working on.
Okay, so, but that's not what I understand the motion is.
Okay,
Ashley, could you please read the motion again?
it should be an exemption. My apologies. Exemption, not an amendment.
So that the delegation request from Sandra Silva with Hitched Coffee requesting an exemption to the mobile food vendor bylaw be received, and that a decision be deferred until February 2022 as a staff report and draft bylaw on mobile food vendors will be considered at that time.
Yeah, so that motion states that we're not making decisions, so Sandra cannot operate until we make a decision on the bylaw.
Right.
So I think the motion should be changed.
Well, let's vote on the motion. You can't, well, you can't, you defeat it and then you can put in a new motion. CEO McNeely. Where'd you go? You're on mute, CEO.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, that's what I was going to suggest. If right now, under the resolution as put to the floor, it would not allow Ms. Silva to operate in the present period. So if council were to either one, undertake a friendly amendment to the resolution, or defeat it and then introduce a new motion. And the parallel discussion we've just had would be to receive the delegation and to grant an exemption from the current food bylaw, mobile food vendor bylaw, to permit Hitch Coffee to operate on a daily basis for at 1302 Swan Street, and to allow up to 3 mobile food vendors. And I believe it was discussed for the Wednesday and Friday timelines.
Correct.
And the third part, and this is exemption, would be in effect until such time as the township adopts a new mobile food vendor bylaw. So that would be the alternative to what's on the floor.
So are you proposing that amendment there, Councillor Osner?
Yes, I propose amendment because I think the motion, I don't think there was clarity in the motion. I don't think the motion was really understood, and I think that we should clarify the motion exactly as CO McNeely just said.
Do you have a seconder? Do I have a seconder for that? I do not see a Councillor Gillespie will second that motion. So then we will put aside this original motion and do the new motion. Ms. Sage, can you read the new motion, please?
So I do have a motion drafted. So moved by Councillor Osner and seconded by Councillor Gillespie, that the delegation received from Sandra Silva with Hitch Coffee requesting an exemption to the mobile food vendor bylaw be received, and that Township Council provide for an exemption from bylaw number 1758-98 to accommodate the operation of no more than 1 food truck to be located at 1302 Swan Street all days of the week between the hours of 7 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. until such a time when a new mobile food vendor bylaw is enacted. And that Township Council provide for an exemption from bylaw number 1758-98 to accommodate the operations of no more than 3 food trucks to be located at 1302 Swan Street, Wednesday and Fridays only, between the hours of 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. until such a time when a new mobile food vendor bylaw is enacted. And that the exemption be subject to the following provisions. 1, satisfactory inspection and approval secured from the region's public health department. 2, satisfactory inspection and approval secured from the fire department. And 3, ensure appropriate insurance is obtained and provide proof to the township.
For clarification, Ashley, is all days of the week, you mean 7 days a week?
Yes, the request I believe was for every day of the week.
Is that right, Sandra, 7 days a week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Rollman,
I guess yes.
Councillor Osner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
and Mayor Foxton.
Yes,
That carries.
thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about the confusion.
That's all right. That's all right. Maybe next time, just go over it with the clerk ahead of time and say, this is what I want to happen. Okay.
I think I'm the one who caused the most of the confusion the way I worded it in the.
Right, yeah, so if you go by the clerk and tell her what you wanted to do, and she can help you with the proper wording, that would be helpful,
Perfect.
okay?
Thank you so much.
Sandra. Take care.
Thanks.
Okay, and now the motion to go in to committee, the council adjourn from sitting as committee of the whole.
So moved by Councillor Rolleman, seconded by Councillor Osner, that council adjourn to sit as committee of the whole. Councillor Rolleman,
Yes.
Councillor Osner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
and Mayor Foxton.
Yes,
That carries.
and committee of the whole. There's nothing on finance, developmental services. The reports there are there under A, B, C, D, C. Any comments or questions on those, councillors? That's the heritage for the Van Dyke property, letter of credit reduction request, and plan a site van for 99 Stanley Street. It's also community services. Okay. Yeah. Seeing none, can I have the motion, please?
So moved by
You
Councillor
don't have to
McCreary.
read it all.
Moved by Councillor McCreary and seconded by Councillor Gillespie that the committee of the whole recommend the following items be approved as presented as outlined in the staff reports listed in the development services function area. Those items as presented. Item A, report number PD-03-2022, Part 4 Ontario Heritage Act, amend the bylaw to designate heritage property, Jerry Van Dyke and Anika Van Dyke for 2596 Alps Road as presented. Report number PD-04-2022, letter of credit reduction request, Holman Construction Limited and Brian Dome, Cambridge West Development Lands for file number 30T-16103 and 30T-16104, and that's as presented. And item report number PD-03-2022, Sorry, I missed it. Report number PD-02-2022, site plan application for off-street parking agreement for 99 Stanley Street as presented. And Councillor Rollman?
Yes.
Councillor Rossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes,
That carries.
thank you. Next, we have up is the governance and protective services functions. And the first one is the annual attendance report, and there was an error in that has been corrected. On the members of council who was absent for a meeting date on 2021 attendance report, missing was Councillor Oster's absence on August 10th, so that will be duly noted. Thank you.
Deny it.
You deny August 10th? Gosh, you're cute. Anyways, would anybody like to bring any of these forward? It's the attendance report, the incident summary from the chief, and consideration to rescind the emergency declaration. At this time, we are not rescinding it. Does anybody want to say anything about that or disagree with that? Seeing not, then Ms. Sage, can we have the resolution, please?
So moved by Councillor McCreary and seconded by Councillor Gillespie that the committee of the whole recommend the following items be approved as presented as outlined in the staff reports listed in the governance and protective services function area. One being report number CALK-02-2022, the 2021 annual attendance reporting for members of council as presented. Report number FD-01-2022, the December 2021 incident summary as presented. And report number CAO-01-2022, consideration to rescind the emergency declaration as presented. Councillor Rollman?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
That carries.
Now, Ashley, we're supposed to adjourn now and meet as Committee of Adjustment, correct? No?
So that is at 7 o'clock.
Okay, so we're going to put this aside and we go on to adoption of the committee of whole resolutions. Is that right?
We
Yeah.
do first have the motion to adjourn committee of the whole and return to sitting as council.
Council meeting, okay, adjourn. Yeah, I don't see that resolution, so you go ahead with it because I don't seem to see it here. So go ahead.
So moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Ossner that the committee of the whole is hereby adjourned and the council meeting be called back to order. Councillor Rollman?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
So that carries.
Let me just get through some papers here, Ashley. Maybe I can find some of this stuff. Okay. Sorry, guys, give me a second here. So next we have adoption of the committee of whole resolutions. Correct, Ashley, 11.1.
That is correct. So moved by Councillor Ossner and seconded by Councillor McCreary that council adopt the recommendations as adopted and presented by committee of the whole dated January 17th, 2022. And that being report number PD-03-2022, part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, and then the bylaw to designate the heritage property as presented. Report number PD-04-2022, letter of credit reduction request, Holman Construction Limited and Brian Dome, Cambridge West Development Lands as presented. Report number PD-02-2022, site plan application for off-street parking agreement, 99 Stanley Street as presented. Report number CLK-02-2022, the 2021 annual attendance reporting for members of council as presented. Report number FD-01-2022, the December 2021 incident summary as presented. And report number CAO-01-2022, consideration to rescind the emergency declaration as presented. Councillor Rowland?
Yes.
Councillor Rossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
That carries.
Next, we have the resolution for the December 13th minutes.
So moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor McCreary that council approve the meeting minutes dated December 13th, 2021. Councillor Rollman?
Yes.
Councillor Rossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you. Next up is the letter from Lynn Creedon in regards to the designating the North Dumfries Garden Club regarding the year 2022 year of the garden be received. But also, could we consider endorsing this? CEO McNeely.
So Madam Mayor, I met about 10 days ago with Ms. Winter and Ms. Poisson, talk about what role the township could have in terms of supporting the garden club and furthering across the community the year of the garden. There's been an introductory meeting between Ms. Winter and Ms. Creedon about what role the township could play and support the garden club. And I believe that information is going to be at a future garden club executive meeting to develop and refine an action plan.
So would it be okay to say we are going to support the year of the garden? Or are we waiting for that meeting?
So staff have had those discussions with the garden club. We're working on what those specifics would look like. And we bring that back to a future council meeting for the purposes of information.
Okay, because I thought they needed to know, but I guess they don't. Do they need to know right now?
We've had a meeting we've had a meeting with Ms. Creedon. She now has to take that information back to her executive. And we'll wait back to hear from them, but it is in process and there are opportunities for both the township and the garden club in partnership to embrace and roll out the year of the garden in 2022.
Okay, thank you. I just had an email from her today and I thought she said there was a time frame she was concerned about. But can you read the motion, please, Ms. Sage?
As moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Rolleman, that the correspondence received from Lynn Creedon with the North Dumfries Garden Club regarding the 2022 year of the garden be received. Councillor Rolleman?
Yes.
Councillor Rossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
That carries.
So the next one is the correspondence between the Coalition of Muslim Women's of KW regarding Bill 21. And I guess they're asking us to do the motion again. We did do a motion back when Bill 21 first came into being. I think we wrote our own. Is that, do you recall, Ms. Sage? Andrews, do we want to resend that resolution, councilors? Again, CEO McNeely?
So Madam Mayor, the Coalition of Muslim Women of Kitchener-Waterloo have actually two requests. One is the adoption of a resolution against racism. And you're quite correct. We did do a resolution previously. The other is they're asking for a financial ask, where they're asking for the municipality to invest dollars to fight Bill 21 in the court system. And they've asked us to follow the lead of the city of Brampton and a few other named municipalities to provide financial assistance in this regard. The draft 22 budget does not include a financial commitment to battle Bill 21.
I do sympathize with their ask, but if we start to pay for court fees to go in with every single issue, pretty soon all our funds would be extremely dented in. Councilors, other comments, ideas, thoughts? I agree we can send the resolution again. I have no problems with the resolution regarding the treatment in Bill 21. No thoughts? Now, the motion just says that correspondence received from the Coalition of Muslim Women of KW regarding Bill 21 be received. Do you want to leave it just as that, or do you want to do a resolution? I cannot make amendments. So if council wants to, I see none, so we'll leave the resolution as it is. So Ms. Sage, please read it.
So moved by Councillor Osner and seconded by Councillor McCreary. The correspondence received from the Coalition of Muslim Women of KW regarding Bill 21 be received. Councillor Rollman?
Yes.
Councillor Osner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
That carries.
Now, this one again about the AMO one I sent to you. One of them is the insurance one, and CEO McNeil, you could correct me again if I haven't got it quite right. There's the law that states if you have an accident in a municipality and you are injured and you do not have adequate insurance to cover your injuries, the municipality's insurance has to cover you. So Christina's looking at me as if I don't have that quite right. CEO McNeely, am I correct, or have I got it approximately right? Or
Yes, I just want to clarify. It's where there's a municipal asset in question. So it's just not blanket. It's where there's a municipal asset and an incident has occurred. The joint and severability is where we use the term the deep pockets end up paying. And unfortunately, there has been some significant court judgments. And while the municipalities, some instances, have been a minor contributor to the event, they have paid the lion's share of the settlement. So the governments of Ontario over several years and several different generations of political parties have all supported the premise of joint and severability. This government has recently, as 2 years ago, indicated that they would be championing joint and severability. We have yet to see any progress on this, and it has a direct bearing on insurance premiums for the municipal sector. And these judgments continue to drive up our base premiums. Council has witnessed that in the last few years as we've debated our annual budgets. So there is some merits in supporting AMO and the issue of the pursuit of the appropriate legislative changes as relates to joint and severability aspects of decision-making.
so councilors, you want to just receive the AMO thing as report, or would you like to do a resolution to AMO requesting that the province revisit this and not put the onus on the municipalities? And it's regardless of whether the person is at fault. Let's say, for instance, a person is drunk and hits one of our streetlights or something and gets injured, but he doesn't have adequate insurance to cover his injuries or anything else. Then we have to pay for him. We have to pay all of that. We have to pay whatever the insurance would have had to pay because he lacked the proper insurance. I see Councilor Gillespie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we should support this because like insurance is just getting out of hand, and they need to stop some of these frivolous lawsuits that people put towards the municipality, because it's just costing everyone money. I don't, it costs every citizen money. So I think we should support this for sure. Send a resolution or whatever we need to do.
Would you move that resolution, Councillor Gillespie?
I would move that, yes.
Is there a seconder for Councillor Gillespie's resolution? Councillor Osner? So, Ms. Sage, we would like to write that, CO McNally, can you better word this? Thank you. While he's doing it, we can receive the rest of the AMO as, just receive the rest of the AMO Association. Go ahead, CO McNally.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That the Council of the Corporation of the Township of North Dumfries supports the continued efforts of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario in their discussions with the province of Ontario to pursue amendments to necessary legislation to advance the joint and severable liability changes in favor of the municipal and public sector.
And you don't
And
need
that,
to.
sorry, and that this resolution be forwarded to AMO and the MPPs within Waterloo Region.
Do you have it, Ms. Sage?
If I could just have Andrew, if you could just repeat the that again, so I could get that. Sorry.
You're on mute, Andrew.
That the Township of North Dumfries supports the continued effort of the association in discussions to continue to change joint and several liability.
The Township of North Dumfries supports the Association of Municipalities of Ontario in their ongoing pursuit to have the province undertake the requisite changes to legislation in support of the principle of joint and severability in recognition of the municipal and public sector, and that this resolution be forwarded to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the MPPs of Waterloo Region.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, and we'll have that motion, Ms. Sage.
Yes, so Councillor Rollman, would you like to start?
Yes.
Councillor Osner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
That carries.
Now we'll still read 12.3 because that AMO thing had several points on it.
Certainly. So that the correspondence received from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario be received. And that the Council of the Township of North Dumfries supports the continued effort of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario in their ongoing pursuit to have the province undertake the changes in legislation in support of the principles of joint and several liability in recognition of the municipal sector, and that this resolution be forwarded to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the MPPs in Waterloo Region.
Thank you, and it's already been voted on, so thank you. The next one is the one in regards to doing a path through Victoria Park. I've had several people contacting me about their walks through the park and wishing for it to be maintained a pathway. I believe we discussed this before and turned it down. Is that still the wish of council? I kind of like the idea, to tell the truth. We're trying to get people to get out and walk and do stuff, but Councilor Rollerman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've had some residents contact me as well regarding opening up the trail at the NDCC, the Cowan Park, how we have it closed off in the winter. People were saying they like to go, cross-country ski back there or hike back there, and they felt that some of the trails around the township, because of all the snowfall, are a little more treacherous now. So they're hoping that we could open up our trail. It's a little bit more safe, they felt, and it provide an opportunity for people to do some outdoor hiking in a close environment, safe environment. So there's also that option of maybe the NDCC field being open, maybe Victoria Park. People are wanting outdoor activities, so maybe our parks and our facilities shouldn't be closed off in the wintertime. Maybe we should have some sort of access available.
Any other thoughts? Councillor Austin. Everybody keeps moving around. Where'd you go? There you are.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to lower my hand there. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about requests, like it's every park. They want Piper's Glen open, they want Victoria Park open, they want the NDCC open. The thing is that they're not the only places to walk, and it's basically Victoria Park. It's just the ring road that they want open to walk through, right? So you can still walk on it. I just, if we start with one, we're going to get requests for another and another and another, and next thing you know, we're going to have to maintain open all our parks. And I'm slightly concerned about the liability issue if it's not salted or sanded at the right time, at the often enough, etc. We had that with the sidewalks up at Cedar Creek, and it's the same thing. I'm a little concerned that if we have to start maintaining all those, it's going to be quite an excessive extra cost. Personally, I don't understand why when you go about walking town, there's plenty of sidewalks that are maintained already for the amount that you're going to walk through Victoria Park. I don't know if I see the justification in that.
Thank you. CEO McNeely.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So other than Cowan Park, all of our parks are open to the public. We have in some parks where there's an off-street parking area, closed the parking lot to vehicles because we don't plow or maintain those parking lots. And I'll use Clyde and Piper's Glen as two examples, okay? But the parks themselves are open other than Cowan Park. It is fenced off and the gate locked. With respect to winter maintenance on the ring road in Victoria Park, we have tried, based on Mr. Shorney's correspondence, we did make sure that our plow can fit through the stone entry gates at the east end of the park, at the terminus of Church. Yes, we can fit through the opening with the wing up. Though the ring road itself is fairly narrow, it's basically the width of one vehicle. The driver would have to be careful because the width of the front mounted blade is essentially the width of the traveled surface. So
I was thinking you reduce the sidewalk one.
Well, Madam Mayor, we haven't covered that in our budget, and that's a private contractor. That would be a significant additional cost because we pay on the per kilometer per hour basis.
Right.
But using our own fleet, we can plow it. On a heavy snowfall like today, it would be hard initially to figure out where the grass is versus the road because there's no drop curb. And as such, you don't have the depth change in the snowfall. But, once you have a windrow, you're just essentially following the remnant of the existing windrow. But the bigger concern would be the issue of applying sand or a salt sand mix. The beater that feeds the material out of the truck is actually right beside the doorstep of the driver. So if we were to activate that, we would not be putting the product necessarily on the ring road. It would partially be onto the grass, as well as a portion of the ring road. So if we were to do it, we wouldn't be applying material just because it would not be hitting the desired location.
Thank you. Councillor Holloman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess my concern is that it goes to the wider issue of how we use that ring road. We've discussed this before. We closed it before, and no one really was happy with that. I don't think we want to go to a situation where the ring road is going to be perceived as an open road for cars, because that's not what I think Mr. Shorney is asking for. And if we start getting into running our plow through there, laying down salt, then cars are going to use it, and that's a standard we have to maintain to that. So I agree with Councillor Ossner. We don't want to start incurring additional maintenance costs. Is there a lower level? I know you mentioned the sidewalk plow. Is there a lower level of maintenance that we could provide just for people to walk? Or do we just not worry about it and say, well, it is what it is? And maybe that's why I was wondering about the NDCC, because there we have the parking lots that are plowed, so people could park there. And if that trail was open, again, would it have to be shoveled? Maybe it would have to, and that would be too expensive. But I'm just seeing people are asking us for options. So I don't want to turn it into a snowplow situation, but is there an option that we could have? Maybe if it's strictly open for, I don't know, cross-country skiing or something, or hiking, and we don't worry about maintaining it, maybe that's all we can do. I don't know.
CEO McNeely.
So, Madam Mayor, just to follow up then with Councillor Roloman's discussion related to Cowan Park. I mean, today, as I mentioned, the gate entry into the park is locked. That was done in part to keep people out of the skate park during this varied weather condition. So obviously, if we unlock the gate, there will be some days when people will try and access the skate park. We had to chase them out last March when there was snow in portions of the park. The other is obviously just concern about the integrity of the sports fields themselves. But if we were not to plow it and just make it available for cross-country skiing or snowshoeing, as the case may be, we would put up signage in that regard. And there's a certain liability that the resident would take on, then understanding that there's no winter maintenance, that it's meant to be used in its natural setting. If we have icy conditions, because let's think about what another 3 or 4 weeks might look like. We start getting that freeze-thaw cycle. I would suggest at that point in time we would close the gate again, because it's not safe necessarily to go cross-country skiing or snowshoeing. You start getting that slip trip hazard concern. But if that's the direction of council, that's a course that we could move forward fairly quickly at Cowan Park. On the issue of the ring road, which was the request that was specific to Mr. Shorney, you're quite correct. We do not want to use the ring road as an extension to the municipal road system. That's not what it was designed for. It's certainly not at that level from a risk management perspective. It was designed to provide access to portions of the park itself during typically the operating season of April through November, whether it be for the sports fields, events in the park itself, or tennis. So we have a couple of options. We could promote it as a place to go cross-country skiing or snowshoeing. If council wishes maintenance and the ring road or a leg of the ring road plowed, we can accommodate it. We just wouldn't be putting down product just because of the way the trucks are designed. And it would just be part of the extension of the maintenance of Church Street. We could put barriers up that prevent people from driving in. So when the plow goes through, they put the barrier back up with the objective that it's not being used by motor vehicles during the winter season.
You know, CM McNeely, really good ideas, really good points. But I heard Councillor Osner, I heard Councillor Rollerman. I remember why we got into the plowing of the sidewalks and the maintaining of the sidewalks was because of the slip and falls and the lawsuits. Does anyone wish to make a motion to do any of these, open these, or would they like to leave the motion as is, which says that the correspondence be received from Bruce Shorney regarding Victoria Park? Anybody wish to make a motion and a different motion? Councillor Austin?
I have no problem with the park being open for, as Councillor Rowland said, for snowshoeing or cross-country skiing or walking. But however, as we said before, I don't want to see it maintained to the point where we're going to have vehicles going through, etc. So I don't, do we need a motion to allow the parks, because as CEO McNeely said, they're open already. Do we actually need a motion to, or do we just put signage up saying open for foot traffic only?
But can I make a point that the people that have talked to me have been seniors and they're walking their dogs, so they want walking. Now, you can't have a walking with a snowshoeing or with cross-country skiing unless you have different trail type things. Do you know what I mean? You'd have to clear a spot for walking. So that's what they're requesting, is that we clear an area for walking. CEO McNeely.
So Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Ostner, if the intent is just to keep the park open at its current service level, which is basically people can access the park,
Yeah.
and if they wish to cross-country ski or walk, whatever the case may be, they have that ability. There's nothing in terms of a barrier that keeps the public out of Victoria Park. If council wants a change in service level, like plowing the ring road, then direction would be required from Township Council.
Does anyone want, Councillor Rollerman?
I think we need a staff report on our options. I don't think we're really in a position to make any kind of decision tonight. Maybe we need to look at, maybe not even for this winter, maybe it's in the future, but we need to look at what the options are for winter use of our parks and what we can do to accommodate, as you said, people walking their dogs or people that want to snowshoe. I don't want to make a hasty decision and have it backfire. We've done that before with Victoria Park when we closed it one summer. So I'd rather have a staff report and see what the staff have to say.
That's fair. I think that's a good comment. So we can receive the letter and direct staff to look into it further for us. We have to remember this, these individuals that have contacted me are actually walking. They're not snowshoeing. And you can snowshoe anywhere or cross country ski anywhere. So Ms. Sage, oh, there you are. Be received and that staff come back with a further report. Is that okay, Ms. Sage? We'll make that amendment.
Yes, I can say, and that staff be directed to prepare a future report related to winter uses related to the township parks.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Rollerman that the correspondence received from Bruce Storney regarding Victoria Park be received and that staff be directed to prepare a future report related to winter uses related to township parks. Councillor Rollerman?
Yes.
Councillor Austin?
Yes.
Councillor McCrory?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
That carries.
Okay, councillors, we're on the correspondence. Is there anything that anyone would like to pull on that correspondence to discuss? Councillor Rollerman.
The only one I want to pull was the one from the City of Kitchener 1412 regarding the, is that the one about, no, the one about the patios. What number is that? 1414?
Outdoor patios, 1414. The enlargement. City of Waterloo. Yes.
That's the one, City of Waterloo about the patios, yes.
Okay, and Councillor Gillespie?
Yes, thank you. I was wonder if we can support 1416, the assessment updates. And I was wondering about 14.1.7 from the Grand River, whether we can get that LDD moth update put on our website.
Oh, good point. So that's all you want to say about that one? We won't write it down separately.
Yes. Yep.
CEO McNeely, can you direct staff to put that on the website? Thank you. So Councillor Rollerman, we'll go back to yours, City of Waterloo outdoor patios. So what would you like?
I would like to see us endorse the resolution from the City of Waterloo. Because basically what they're saying is that restaurants and restaurants, and we have restaurants and patios here in town that need to be able to increase the size of their patios without having to go through all the AGCO restrictions. So I know our patios in town might appreciate that.
CEO McNeely, can we have that for the next council meeting, or can we?
Madam Mayor, maybe it's just as simple as the resolution of the City of Waterloo as it relates to alternative provisions for expansion of outdoor patios be endorsed.
Okay, Councillor Rollerman, you'll move that. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Seconder, councillors, Councillor Ossner, thank you. And can we have the vote on that, Ms. Sage?
Certainly. Councillor Rollerman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
and Mayor Foxton.
Yes,
That carries.
thank you. Councillor Gillespie, you were talking about 14.1.6, the Tay Valley Township regarding province-wide assessment update. And this is in regards to the impact and how it's been pushed off, correct?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Any other comments on that?
It's going to be just a terrible amount of money once they put that through. So
That's
they've got
exactly
to,
right.
yeah, they've got to do something about that for sure.
So the same thing as CEO McNeely stated, that you're moving that it be endorsed.
Yes.
And can I have a seconder for that, please? Someone, Councillor Rollerman and Ms. Sage. Same thing, we'll just say that Councillor North Dumfries endorses.
Yeah, the Township Council endorsed a resolution received from Tay Valley regarding province-wide assessment updates.
Yes, please.
Councillor Rollerman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
and Mayor Foxton.
Yes,
That carries.
thank you. And then we'll just pass all the rest. You don't have to label them, just say the rest remaining correspondence.
Yes, certainly. So moved by Councillor Rollerman and seconded by Councillor Gillespie that council received for the purposes of information the following items, and that's as presented. Councillor Rollerman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
and Mayor Foxton.
Yes,
That carries.
thank you. And next we have the minutes, the regional minutes and the GRCA minutes.
Moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor McCreary. The council received the following for information purposes only. Region of Waterloo minutes dated November 17th, 2021 and November 24th, 2021. Grand River Conservation Authority minutes dated November 26th, 2021, and the Library Committee minutes dated December 8th, 2021. Councillor Rollerman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
and Mayor Foxton.
Yes.
That carries.
We have 2 minutes before we go, 1 minute before we go to, so do you want to remake, the rest is basically councillor and mayor's report, and then the site plan control bylaw for 99 and going into close. So will we stop here and we will move over to Committee of Adjustment. All right, so we'll just wait 1 minute. And does Cynthia have to move people in and out for this?
Yes, we do have one individual that registered for the one application.
Okay, so Cynthia, you're up.
We do have the motion, Mayor Foxton, to sit as Committee of Adjustment, if you'd like
Yep.
me to go ahead with
That's
that.
all right. We can do that. Well, I was going to wait till 7, but we can do that now. Go ahead.
No, it's fine.
Go ahead.
So moved by Councillor Ossner and seconded by Councillor McCreary that the council meeting be adjourned at 6:59 p.m. To sit as Committee of Adjustment for the purposes of holding public meetings pursuant to the provisions of the Planning Act. Councillor Rowland,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
and Mayor Foxton.
Yes.
That carries.
Mhm. And the next motion is the appointment. Yeah, I shouldn't do those yet, right?
So the first staff report is the report for the appointment of Chair, Vice Chair, Secretary Treasurer, and the Deputy Secretary Treasurer for Committee of Adjustment.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you want to read the motion?
So moved by Councillor Ossner and seconded by Councillor Gillespie that the committee appoint Mayor Fox, and that report CLK-01 be received, and that the committee appoint Mayor Foxton as chair and Councillor Gillespie as vice chair for Committee of Adjustment for the period ending on November 14th, 2022, and that council appoint Ashley Sage as secretary treasurer and Cynthia Hislop as deputy secretary treasurer for Committee of Adjustment for 2022. Councillor Wilman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
and Mayor Foxton.
Yes,
That carries.
thank you. Okay, Ms. Sage, all right, so I will start now with the Committee of Adjustment and say, good evening, everyone. We are going to start the Township of North Dumfries Committee of Adjustment portion of our meeting for this evening. We have one Committee of Adjustment application scheduled for this evening's meeting. Members of the public who have registered before the registration deadline have been provided with a link and telephone number to join the virtual meeting with this evening. Staff will move these individuals who have registered into the meeting to speak with the application is heard. First report is okay, that's done. Consent and minor variance application of 1794 Seaton Road. I'd like to state that notice was provided in accordance with the Planning Act. The Secretary Treasurer will record everyone who has commented on this application, attended and/or have registered with the Clerk's Division to attend the meeting this evening, and those individuals be notified of the decision or convening future meetings. I'd like now to introduce Christina Brazanovic, Planner GIS Technician, who will be presenting the application. Christina, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Councilors. This evening, I will be presenting the information report regarding minor variance application A-13/21 and consent application B-08/21 for 1794 Seaton Road. The purpose of this meeting is to provide an overview of the proposal, to solicit comments and identify issues or matters to be assessed by staff. The purpose of this consent application is to convey a portion of the subject property as a lot addition to the abutting residential property known as 1788 Seaton Road. A minor variance application was also submitted to accommodate the change in lot size of 1794 Seaton Road due to the proposed lot line adjustment. The property is located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Morrison Road and Seaton Road. The property is municipally addressed as 1794 Seaton Road and currently consists of vacant land. The property is 11.9 hectares in size with a corresponding lot frontage of 350 meters along Seaton Road and 215 meters along Morrison Road. The applicant proposes to convey a portion of the subject property as a lot addition to the abutting residential property here, 1788 Seton Road. The proposed land contains a family garden, outdoor amenity area, and a row of trees that provide a barrier. And the owner wishes to preserve this area as part of the home that's located at 1788 Seton Road. The proposed severance would convey approximately 2,866 square meters to the abutting residential property, 1788. And the property located at 1788 Seton Road contains a single detached dwelling, and no new lot is proposed. The applicant is seeking relief from the provisions of the general zoning bylaw, as the proposed consent will affect the current zoning exemption that applies to this property. The subject property makes up part 1 of exemption 20.1.223, which states that they may have a minimum lot area of 11.9 hectares. Due to the proposed lot line adjustment, the retained lands would be reduced to 11.6 hectares, and the minor variance is to accommodate this difference of 0.3 hectares. Planning policies and regulations. The criteria when reviewing minor variance applications set out by Section 45 of the Planning Act include the following 4 tests: if the variance is minor, if the variance is desirable, if the variance is in keeping with the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and if the variance is in keeping with the intent and purpose of the official plan. The provincial policy statement. Lot line adjustments may be permitted provided that the lots are of a size appropriate for the type of agricultural use common in the area and sufficiently large to maintain flexibility for future changes in the type or size of agricultural operations. The proposed lot line adjustment is relatively minor and would not create a major impact on the size of the retained lot, as it says 0.3 hectare difference, and the property will also remain as Zone 1 agriculture. Regional official plan and township official plan. The subject property is situated within the Beverly environmentally sensitive landscape, within the rural area and protected countryside, within the aggregate bedrock deposit area, and the property is also designated agriculture, and a portion of this property is within the environmental constraint and hazard lands. The subject property is zoned Z1 agriculture, and the portion to the east is zone 12 open space. And exemption 20.1.223 applies to the subject property as mentioned earlier. It is part 1, which means the minimum lot area is to be 11.9 hectares in size. At this time, no comments or concern have been received from any members of the public. The Grand River Conservation Authority and Bridge Gas and Waterloo Catholic District School Board had no comments or concerns. Regarding public works, new or additional entrances to Seton Road will not be permitted, and any modifications to existing entrances will require an entrance permit. The township will also require a minimum 4-meter wide road widening and dedication across the frontage of 1794 Seton Road. The region of Waterloo had no concerns regarding the minor variance application, but they would like the owner or applicant to submit some additional information and justification for the proposed consent application. Staff will be considering matters for a future recommendation report to committee, including all comments and correspondence that are received, that the development conforms to the official plan and zoning bylaw, that the proposed variance meets the criteria of the 4 tests set out in Section 45 of the Planning Act. If the proposed consent is desirable for the property and compatible with its adjacent land uses and property, the impact of the proposed lot addition to surrounding properties, and the suitability of the land for the purpose for which the lands are to be severed. The recommendation of staff to committee is that all comments and correspondence received from members of the public and government agencies through the consultation process be returned to staff for a future report to committee on the disposition of this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Mr. Head, would you like to make any comments? Sam, are you there? There you go.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Would you like to make any
good.
comment?
Good. glad to have a snow day. I didn't think we'd have a meeting, but we can do this now on a computer, which is fantastic. I'm representing Mr. Hunter and his wife. Ray wants to give his wife a small piece of the property so they can add to the existing house that's on the property. And basically, it's the family garden, it's an outdoor area, and it's a line of trees along the property line. This is their marital home. Eventually, the piece that's left over, approximately 30 acres, will be conveyed to one of the family members and used for whatever purpose they're allowed in the future. This is basically a very minor variance. The region raised some concerns about the Greenbelt plan. I looked at the Greenbelt plan and I don't see that the Greenbelt plan affects this property. It's the property is so small in nature, and it looks like there's a hole in the donut in that section of the green plan that removes this property from the Greenbelt plan. We're not creating any new development here according to provincial policies. This may be agricultural land and policy, but in fact, there's a swampy area, there's a treed area, and there's all kinds of other vegetation on the property, which makes it difficult to farm it for any production of any kind of crops or anything. We certainly can't do intensive farming because we're in the settlement area and we're surrounded by houses that have been existing ever some time and built on the subject property as well. So we're not asking to create a development lot here. We're just adding to the existing house. We don't need a new driveway. The driveway exists. No municipal services are required because they're all on local septic and water supply, which exist on the existing lot as well. So we're just asking for a minor variance and a lot addition to allow him to convey the property to his wife, and then they own it together. And then when they retire, they can sell off the property or give it to one of their family members. Those are my comments, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Rollman. You're on mute, Councillor Rollman.
Did that work? My question is regarding the retained lands. Is there a residence on the retained land?
No, there's not, sir. No.
And are there plans for a future residence to be built on that land?
I would expect that maybe one of the heirs of the property might do that in the future. It's zoned agriculture that permits a single family house. So there could be a house built on the property in the future. That wasn't addressed with the owner. He didn't indicate anyone was planning to build a house there. He just wanted to do the lot addition to the existing house.
CEO McNeely.
Madam Mayor, just to follow up with Mr. Head's statement, he is quite correct. The existing farm property, the property zone Z1, today, even without considering this lot line adjustment, is eligible for a building permit for a single detached dwelling as per the permissions of the Z1 zone classification. The property has frontage on 2 roads, is large enough to sustain development on the basis of well and septic system. And although that we have an environmental core feature along the eastern limits of the property, the buildable area will be well removed from that environmental core feature or system.
Thank you, CEO McNeely. Yeah, I've looked in a lot into this, Councillor Rollman, and it's absolutely correct. One of the reasons I was talking with the region in the Planning Act is I've talked to several senior farmers who want to sell off their farmland to other farmers and remain owners of their own home. And it's not allowed under the regional countryside line for this reason, because then they will have to allow a home to go onto the farmland, because a farmland can't exist without a home attached to it, apparently. So it's interesting that somehow this got missed. Maybe it happened, maybe originally this happened before the countryside line came into being. But once they build a house on it, there can be no more severances or anything else, whoever builds on that farm. Councillor Rollman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess that was my question. Like, where was the original farmhouse on this property? I'm looking at the map and I can't seem to find one.
That's what I was thinking too. Mr. Head, do you know where the original farmhouse was?
I think it is where we're adding the addition to. It's a small house stuck in the trees there, and I think it was the original farmhouse.
That's
Back in,
interesting.
back in 1983, when I wrote the zoning bylaw, we looked at all of these undersized lots, and we made those provisions so that in the future they could be used for something. The region has basically sterilized every small parcel of land in the region that could be used for something, but you can't do anything with it. The region says it's prime agricultural land. And what do you do with 2, 3, 4, 5 acres? Zip, nothing. So I think they have to rethink their policy on what to do with these pieces out there. They want to encourage development. They want to encourage housing, but they go out of their way just to stop you from doing anything. So it makes it very difficult for me to convince my clients that this makes sense. So I'm just asking for your indulgence and approval of this minor variance and consent.
What we're saying, Mr. Head, is that you were very lucky that you got this in before the countryside line, because the house would have not have been allowed to sever from the farm in the new countryside line policy.
I guess I made a lot of people lucky over the years when I did that.
Any other questions, councillors? Seeing none, can we have the motion, Ms. Sage, please?
So moved by Councillor McCreary and seconded by Councillor Rowland, that Committee of Adjustment receives PD report number 01-2022, and that all comments and correspondence received through the consultation process be returned to staff for consideration in a future report to the committee on the disposition of this matter. Councillor Rowland?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes. Thank you. And now the adjournment of Committee of Adjustment, please.
So moved by Councillor Rowland and seconded by Councillor Gillespie, that pursuant to the Planning Act, the public meeting of the Committee of Adjustment be adjourned at 7:15 p.m. and the council meeting be called back to order. Councillor Rowland?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes,
That carries.
thank you. Have a good night, Sam. Oh, he's probably already gone. Okay, thank you, Christina. And now we will go back into and we are at the bylaw. First and second reading of the bylaw, correct, Ms. Sage?
Yes. So moved by Councillor Rowland, seconded by Councillor Ossner, that the following bylaws be taken as read a first and second time. Bylaw number 3298-22, being a bylaw to execute a site plan control agreement for 99 Stanley Street. Councillor Rowland?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes,
That carries.
and we'll do third reading of the bylaw, please.
Moved by Councillor Rowland and seconded by Councillor Ossner, that the following bylaw be taken as read a third time and be finally passed. Bylaw number 3298-22, being a bylaw to execute a site plan control agreement for 99 Stanley Street. Councillor Rowland?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
That carries.
Councilors, is there anything that anybody would like to report or discuss before we go into the next part of the meeting? Seeing nothing, we will go into close, please.
So moved by Councillor Ossner and seconded by Councillor McCreary, the council move into a closed meeting session at 7:17 p.m. Under the Municipal Act, Section 239, subsection 2, subsection A and B, to discuss one, report number CAO-02-2022, report, the security of the property of the municipality or local board, Municipal Act, Section 239, subsection 2, subsection A, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, Municipal Act, Section 239, subsection 2, subsection B. Councillor Rowland?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And Mayor Foxton?
Yes,
That carries.
thank you. And so we will go off this link and come back onto with the closed links, councilors. We'll see you in a few minutes.